Hello, hello. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank you. Thank you all.
Oh, watch out, there's a camera. You're in front of the camera. Yeah, watch out for
Come right up here. Don't be bashful. All right. All you Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, Brownies, come on up here too. Don't be afraid. Let's go. Come on up. I'll give you a couple of minutes to get back there. Come on, Daisy's Brownies. I need you to help me. Come right up here. Climb right up. Right here. When we get done, you can just back up and sit down, okay? All right. Thank you all for coming out on a great day today. Good afternoon, everyone. On Memorial Day, we recognize and remember the service and sacrifice of our armed forces men and women who have given their lives defending our nation at home and abroad. Memorial Day marks a rich tradition dating back to the Civil War, when organized groups of women began decorating the graves of fallen soldiers. After World War I, it became a holiday that honored all those who perished on the battlefield, regardless of the war. In 1971, Congress created the official holiday to be held on the last Monday in May. People who say Happy Memorial Day don't understand what it's all about. For those who know, this holiday is for the ones who didn't come home. Most will say any day off is a happy day. Never mind that thousands of soldiers died to give us a happy day. Memorial Day allows us the opportunity to reflect upon and honor those American soldiers, sailors, and airmen who have lost their lives paying the ultimate sacrifice in an effort to preserve our freedom. They could be your brother, sister, uncle, aunt, relative, or friend. Their courage and bravery must forever be remembered. Let us take a few moments this Memorial Day to reflect on the meaning of the day, to observe the day, and be mindful of the sacrifices of others before we go and enjoy the freedoms they brought for us. Living in the United States, it is easy to take for granted our independence, but we must understand that freedom isn't free. We don't want to go to war. Bad people make us go to war. And we must defend the freedom and security of our United States every day. For veterans, every day is Memorial Day, and every day is Veterans Day. May God bless every fallen veteran and their family still among us. This time I'll have our chaplain, Tom Botello, give us a prayer. Tom? Cover.
Holy Father, we thank you for this beautiful day. We gather today to honor our military men and women, past and present, who protect our great nation. Bless our country with freedom, peace, and righteousness. Through thy favor, we meet at last before thy throne in heaven. We praise thy great name forever. Thank you very much.
Amen. Cover. Thank you, Tom. We'll now have the national anthem by our Canton Legion band. Present. Ho. Roll. All right, you Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Brownies, Daisy's going to help me out. All right, stand up. I want you to say it loud so everybody can hear you. I'm going to say the Pledge of Allegiance. You ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Good job. We'll now have a selection from our own Ann DeSanto.
Usually, our bagpipers play this, and we hear it every year, but it does have words, and it's called Going Home. Going home, going home, I'm a-going home, quiet life, some still day, I'm just going home. It's not far, just close by, through an open door. Work all done, cares
laid by, gone to roam no more. Mother's there, expecting me, father's waiting too. Lots of folks gathered there, all the friends I knew. Morning star lights the way, restless dreams all done. Shadows gone, break of day, real life just begun. There's no break, there's no end, just a living on, wide awake with a smile, going on and on, going home, going home. I'm just going home. It's not far, just close by. Heaven's open door. Heaven's open door.
At this time, Robert Hicks, would you come up here? Robert L. Bob Hicks is our parade marshal today, and I want each and every one of you to come up and shake his hand because he represents all of our veterans here today. So make sure you come up and say thank you for his service. Robert L. Bob Hicks enlisted in the U.S. Army during the Cold War, serving 3 years in the Army Security Agency. That became part of the military intelligence in 1977. He was assigned to the 327th Communications Reconnaissance Company in Taiwan and later to the 1st U.S. Army Security Field Station near Petaluma, California. Both units monitored the communications of potential enemies. He held top secret and cryptographic clearances then. He is a 26-year member of Georgia Shepherd Post 7, American Legion in Easton. He was Post 7 Commander in 2005 and served as its Senior Vice Commander, Finance Officer, Adjutant, and is on its Executive Board. He serves on his post JROTC, Law Enforcement Cadet, and Boy State Committees. His post elected him as Honorary Life Member of the American Legion, and he is also a Life Member of the Association of the United States Army. He was a member of Easton's Finance Committee from 1987 to 2011, elected to 8 years, three 8-year terms. Bob has been Bristol County Council District 9's Adjutant and Financial Officer and serves on its Executive Board and is its Boy State Committee Chairman. He has managed District 9 Boy State Orientation for several years. Bob has been a fundraiser and recruited for American Legion's Boy State since 1999. This is a prestigious one-week residence course in government, politics, and leadership for 17-year-old high school juniors. His career total of Boy State attendees through 2018 were 375 students, of which 178 were Olive Range High School students. 7 of the 375 have been appointed to West Point and 1 to Annapolis. Others have become engineers or lawyers. 1 is a police sergeant. At least 1 earned a medical degree at the top of his class. 1 is currently a PhD candidate at Harvard. He has raised funds to pay for 27 more boys in 2019 for a new total of 402. Bob served on Easton's Finance Committee from 1987 to 2011, being committee chair 5 times, and served on the former school building and site committee during the expansion of Olive Range High School. He served 2 years on the Finance Policy Committee of the Massachusetts Municipal Association 2008-2009, and was president of the Association of Town Finance Committees in 2009. He's earned a bachelor's degree from Northeastern University on the GI Bill and an MBA degree from Northeastern. He taught courses at Northeastern University, Bentley University, and Massasoit Community College. While teaching at Massasoit, he also taught business courses in the correctional institutions in Bridgewater. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll now give you our honorary parade marshal, Robert L. Bob Tix.
Thank you. Pardon me. Thank you, Al. I thank the parade committee for selecting me as their marshal this year. I thank you for the band, the Cub Scouts, the Girl Scouts, the American Legion Band from Canton, Oliver Ames Band. I thank all of you who stood there by the sides and waved. It felt very rewarding that you remembered what this day really is. This is, well, we have an anniversary coming up on June 6th. That will be the 75th anniversary of D-Day, the invasion of France in World War II. That is something else to remember. Yes, we won, but we won at a cost. And today we are remembering the people who did serve there and who did not come home. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. And now, Bob, this song is especially for you from the Oliver Ames High School Band.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rob. All right. At this time, we'll have our main speaker, Mr. Ed Hands.
Thank you all for coming out today. It's such a beautiful day, and a recent poll conducted indicated that 20% of Americans believe that today is the official holiday for the start of summer, not the important day that it is. Luckily, over half of Americans still know the real meaning of Memorial Day, the day to celebrate the sacrifice of so many brave boys and girls in the service of their country. And despite the fact that we've had an all-volunteer Army for many, many years now, over half of Americans have a friend, a relative, or a neighbor who made the supreme sacrifice. Over half that know somebody who sacrificed for their country. And that's unusual because Americans tend to forget their past way too much. This memorial here is a memorial to the Civil War. It was built in 1882. The veterans of the Civil War began to commemorate their fallen very, very quickly after the war ended in 1865. And it was a very, very complex affair. First, they would march to the Catholic cemetery on Canton Street. Then they would march to the cemetery on what we now call 138. And then finally, they would march to the cemetery down in Torrance Village. That was a lot of marching for men whose main mode of transportation in the Civil War was walking on foot. One unit that had Easton men in it logged 1,500 miles of marching in 1 year of the Civil War. So you can imagine how happy they were when everything was centralized right here in 1882. The memorial behind you has the names of all the men who died in the Civil War. And I know we live in an age of Marvel comics and superheroes and all of that, those things, but those were not these men. Before they became the honored dead, they were people like you and me. Charles Bellows, the first boy who died in the war, enlisted because of the adventure and got as far as New York Harbor when he was poisoned, so the story goes, and died in the harbor. Another man, Horace Poole, served at the end of the war down in Florida, ended up in a prison camp because his commanding officer was fooled by a seductive Confederate spy and led his men into an ambush where they were all captured. Seth Dunbar was 46 when he enlisted, and his noble reason was he couldn't afford to feed his family with work here in Easton, and the amount of money he could get as a soldier would help. He served for 3 honorable years, and the day before his term of office was to end, he was shot and killed in action. And then I have to mention Charles Britton. He was a reluctant soldier. He was drafted in 1863, shortly after his marriage, and he died in 1864, never having seen his son, who was born in that same year. There were other people who were supporters of abolition, supporters of equal rights, out ahead of Abraham Lincoln. One of those was a man named Abner Randall, the last boy from Easton to die in the war. And he was so patriotic that after his original term of service was over, he re-enlisted and actually convinced other people to join him. He was killed in action April 9th, 1865. That's 6 days before the war was over. These were ordinary people. They were ordinary people like you and me. Now they have become the honored dead, and it's completely fitting and proper that we remember them. But we also have to remember something else, and that is that we are part of this flow of history. And you're about to hear, I would think, from Ross Moscato reciting the Gettysburg Address. Abraham Lincoln had a lot to say about things, and I'd like to close with something he said in 1862. He said, "Fellow citizens, we cannot escape history. We will be remembered in spite of ourselves. No personal significance or insignificance can spare one or another of us. The fiery trial through which we pass will light us down in honor and or dishonor to the last generation. We, even we here, hold the power and bear the responsibility." The men behind me took that responsibility, and they passed it on to us. Memorial Day isn't all about barbecues and going fishing or working in the garden. These boys are asking you to make sure that their service has not been in vain. Keep America strong. Keep America proud. Thank you, veterans.
Thank you, Ed. If anybody needs water, there's a tent down there. There's a CERT tent, and the fire department has water. If you start to get sick, sit down. But there's water down there, so, okay? And right now, does anybody see anybody with a big, tall hat? There he is, Abe Lincoln, Ross Moscato. He's going to give us the Gettysburg Address.
Thank you, everyone, for showing up here today. I always commend and say thank you to everyone who congregates on this sacred holiday. There's a lot of other events you could be attending, a lot of other things you'll be doing, and you participate in one of the most hallowed and beautiful and, as I said, I use that term again, sacred congregations that our society engages in. Just say quickly, the Gettysburg Address, it is perhaps one of the more fitting and appropriate speeches. It is one of the most beautiful and poetic declarations in the history of our republic. 10 sentences, 272 words. Abraham Lincoln dedicated these words at the Soldiers' National on November 19th, 1863. Bodies were still being buried in the field. I submit to you that these 10 sentences, these 272 words, which Lincoln probably took about 2.5 minutes to deliver, are unto themselves perhaps the most beautiful, succinct, explanatory, and accurate covenant of our people. And here are the words that our President Abraham Lincoln delivered at the dedication of the Soldiers' National Cemetery at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, November 19th, the year of our Lord, 1863. 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this, but in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note no longer remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be dedicated here to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Thank you.
Now a selection from Ann DeSanto.
And you're certainly welcome to sing along if you know the words. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Twas grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. The Lord has
promised good to me. His word my hope secures. He will my shield and portion be, as long as life endures.
Thank you, ma'am. This time I'd like to bring up our Chairman of the Board of Selectmen, Dottie Funagetti, to say a few words. At the same time, I'd just like to mention that we have State Rep Claire Cronin here. We have State Senator Walter Timley. And we have State Senator Michael Brady. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you. We have our full select board here, which is Craig Barger, Tom Broussard, Mark Lamb, and Chuck King. And on behalf of our legislators and our select board, I just wanted to say that we're grateful for being able to join the veterans and our community today as we reflect and think about, remember, those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. Thank you all for being here today.
Okay, and we'll have our final selection from the Canton Legion Band.
Camping on the old campground, white through, no formata first night. 1, 2, 3.
At this time, we'll have the reading of the Civil War dead. Easton has built this monument in memory of her sons who died for their country in the war which destroyed slavery and preserved the Union. We honor their names today. Charles Bellows.
Benjamin Boudry.
Charles L. Britton Jr.
Martin Cunningham.
Major Crockett.
George H. Davis.
Daniel Donovan.
Henry T. Drew.
John Duffy.
Thomas Duffy.
Seth T. Dunbar.
Jason F. Eldridge.
Samuel H. Gilmore.
Franklin Godfrey.
John Goulding,
John D. Haney.
Edward W. Hansel,
Mason A. Hill.
E. Granville Howard,
James A. Humphrey.
Addison A. Lothrop,
William A. Lothrop.
Calvin A. Marshall,
Michael Millerick.
Theodore Mitchell,
John Mullen.
Patrick McCourt,
James McCullough.
Corsius S. Packard,
William M. Packard.
John Phillips,
Mineth E. Phillips.
H. Frank Poole,
Seth Ramsdell.
Angel Randall,
John Randall.
Pegleg F. Randall,
Phineas A. Randall.
John Richards,
Michael E. Roach.
Richard Sievers,
Cornelius Flattery.
Albert Tilden,
George A. Tilden.
J. Manley Tinkle,
Charles S. Torrey.
and Charles A. Willis. The selectmen have already placed a wreath on the monument. At this time, we'll have our rifle salute. Color guard, attention. Huh. Present. Home. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate you coming out today, because you could have been anywhere today, but you decided to come with us. So we thank you for that. Before we leave, I just want to just mention one thing here, is that the Canton Legion Band over here will present The Longest Day, a free concert, commemorating the 75th anniversary of D-Day with the music of World War I. It'll be June 2nd, 4:30 on Sunday, Holy Trinity Lutheran Church. So it's free. Come on out, have a good time. Again, thank you all for coming. We appreciate it. We'll see you next year on Main Street. Thank you.
Right here, number Carol. Yeah,